Okay, welcome everyone and welcome to day 4. Just before we share our PowerPoint, I really applaud you for being here, and I know I got some apologies. It seems to be load shedding is in full force again. So of course some areas won't be, luckily in my area for some reason and load shedding level 3, I don't get too much load shedding. But of course you've got the recording. Just very quickly before we start our sharing, as I was saying to everyone who came on before 1 o'clock, after module 3, after that 10 times, it does seem to be quite a shocker for a lot of people. Okay, and it's always a shocker for me too. I didn't get too much sleep last night because I was thinking of my thing that I need to do. So please don't think you're the only one. And Ansi was sharing with us earlier on that once again she's got a wake-up call. Once again, here's the wake-up call. So as I said to Ansi and everyone on the group, when we get those wake-up calls, make today the time that you're going to heed the wake-up call so that we don't have to wait another 3 months, 6 months, a year, 10 years to get that call. Okay. And just by show of, and you can show me by your face, by your hand, you can even say something very quickly. But, and be honest. So after yesterday and so far, now we're into day 4, how's your mindset? Are you a bit scared, excited, a little bit nervous? You don't know where this is going to go? How are you feeling?
Excited.
Excited. Anyone else?
I'm very eager for the how.
Okay. Okay, so that's exactly, because now it's like, yes, it's out there, but now how do we do it? And that's what we're going to do now. So let's start the share, and you will be amazed at the how. Oh, sorry. Okay. So, okay, everyone, welcome to Free Goals Training Day 4 already. And I'm excited to share with you. As Terusha said, I'm eager for the how. Yes, we've done the 10 times, and that might have scared the heebie-jeebies out of you. And it certainly did me. And as I said yesterday, I think I said yesterday that I know mine. Look here, I do my goals every week, almost every day. And I know what it is, but I actually needed to write that down. And I was a little bit fearful of it because, once you write it down, it's there, set in stone. And it was kind of scary. But here's a tip before we get into the session. When something's scary, and I proved it to myself again today, ask yourself, number 1, identify what is it that's scaring you. What is it that's scaring you? And what I identified was I didn't have enough information about something. So once you know what it is that's scaring you, you can take the next step and you can get information. So today I had a meeting with someone in Cape Town online at 10 o'clock, got the information I needed, and I feel a whole lot different. So information is power, because now you've got information you didn't know before. It's opened up a whole new avenue to me, and it's going to make it easier for me to make my decision. So whenever you're not moving forward, ask yourself, what's stopping me? What's stopping me from moving forward? So how to work with a goal that scares you? It is very, very simple. Here's your formula. RR. Reduce it to the ridiculous. And we're going to talk to this. So break down your goal. Remember, yesterday was about you took your C goal and then you 10 times that. Your C goal was your big goal anyway, okay? And then you 10 times that. We talked about ways of 10 timesing it, which now might seem quite ridiculous to you. And maybe even ladies, everyone, sorry, that's watching the webinar, guys and ladies, go back to your goal, because without you knowing it, you might even be limiting yourself to 10 timesing it because it just seems too ridiculous. So you can even go back to this. Okay. Now, once you've got that 10 times C goal, take that goal. It could, I don't know what your goal is. It could be a number, it could be an activity, it could be a concept, it could be buying a house, it could be, you know, whatever it is, take that goal and break it down into bite-sized pieces. So you break it down into smaller pieces. Now, number 3, once you've broken it down into small pieces, break it down into ridiculously small, tiny pieces. So small that it seems ridiculous. And that very small, ridiculous first step is what you do. Okay, so why we get so scared is because it's so big. Where do we start? We start right at the beginning, but we don't know what the beginning is. So we have to break it down. Okay, let me take my goal, for example. So I've got a goal that I'm thinking of, and I have been thinking about it for a while, and I'm not sure whether I should go that route or not. In fact, my gut says I need to go that route, but something's scaring me. I don't have enough information. Okay, I don't know who to ask. And then something just jumps up at me. Someone suggests someone, okay, now I've got to make the phone call. Okay, I need information. I have a name. I need to make the phone call. A bite-sized piece, make the phone call. Okay, make an appointment. Once you've made an appointment, you can't undo it. Okay, we can't make an appointment and then not show up. So I made the appointment last week already. It's in my calendar. I had the appointment, and then with the appointment, I had all the information I needed. And I thought to myself, Kim, why didn't I do this a couple of months ago? So whatever it is, break the goal down. Let's say someone wanted to save some money. Okay, so I want to save 1,000 Rand by the end of the month. So what do I do? Okay, maybe I need a bank account. How am I going to save the money? I want to open a bank account. Which bank? Okay, you look at all the lists of the banks. Okay, I like the idea of this bank. Okay, what do I need? Research online. You're writing all these goals down. Research online. I like this bank. What do I need? I need to go in person. What documents do I need? Get the documents ready. When am I available? When can I go in? Okay, and so and you go in, you get to the cashier, the desk, and you open a bank account. Now you've got your book or whatever it is, okay? And now you decide how you're going to save. Every week when I get this, I'm going to put 100 Rand in every week on a Friday. Before you know it, every Friday you are saving 100 Rand. Before you know it, you've got 1,000 Rand. So you break it down into the ridiculous. So look at that. You know those big boulders? You know, sometimes you see them at the harbors and things like that, or on construction sites. I mean, they're huge, huge boulders. How do you move that? You can't move that. I remember when I moved onto my property, a couple of people have seen it. It was just, you couldn't even drive onto the property. It was just mayhem for trees and boulders and everything else. How did I clear the land? By taking jackhammers and breaking it down. Because when you break a boulder down with a jackhammer, it breaks down into small pieces of rubble. When you've got small pieces of rubble, can you move it? Yes. You put it into these strong bags, these 40-kilogram bags, you find a strong man and you start moving it. It's possible to move a boulder like that when you break it down. And guys, it's exactly the same with your goals. There's nothing different. So think of that boulder. That boulder is your big goal, and you've got to break it down into small pieces so that you can move it. Okay, so let me read you a story about this. Is everyone ready? You can just sit back and relax. So this is a story of how Cynthia Kersey reduced her dream down into the ridiculous. One day, Bob Proctor, who I spoke about yesterday, was sitting with a friend of his, who was her, Cynthia Kersey, in 1998. She began telling him how she wanted to raise money for people in need, and that she had just met with the founder of Habitat for Humanity, Millard Fuller. Cynthia was facing a big challenge in her life at this time, and it was causing her a lot of pain. Millard suggested that she would have to find a challenge bigger than her hurt, bigger than her pain, if she wanted to move beyond it. I will send this to you, okay? Don't worry. With that, she decided to raise money to build homes in Nepal. Her initial goal was to build 10 homes at a cost of $2,000 per home. But that really did not do much for her. So she changed her goal to building 100 homes. Now this actually scared her, okay? Remember we talked about a goal, A, B goal doesn't really scare you. But now she did a C goal. She was going to have to raise $200,000 and she had absolutely no idea how she was going to do it. After hearing Cynthia's story, Bob suggested she reduce it to the ridiculous. She could find 200 people to donate $1,000 or 10 people to give her $20,000, which is a whole lot easier than trying to find one person donate $200,000. She could break it down even further to 400 people if she knew that amount of people at $500 per person. In December, so that was 1998. In December 2000, she led a team of 18 people to go and build her first 2 homes. In the end, Cynthia Kersey built her 100 homes, and something in her life shifted too. That was the beginning of her humanitarian ventures, and she began the remarkable world renowned now known as Unstoppable Foundation. Her mission in life is, I want every child on the planet to receive access to the lifelong gift of education. Not long after that, she began building schools in Africa and now is getting generous donations from many, many organizations and individuals to do that. And that's what she's doing today. And it all started with, she first was just going to build a couple of homes at $2,000. She upped it to a C goal, and then she broke it down to the ridiculous. I don't know the details of it, but maybe she had, like an expo or fundraising and whatever, and she managed it. And now I'll send you a recent picture of it. She's built so many homes and schools in Africa, it's amazing. Okay, so it's about breaking it down into the ridiculous. So your homework for today, again, rewrite your C goal. Everyone, when you rewrite it, you might find that because it's the second, third, fourth time round that you're rewriting it, it actually gets better. It's got more clarity. Then when you rewrite it, break it down into smaller parts. Break the goal down. You can write it in words. I'm quite a messy person, so I like to put arrows and circles and arrows and circles. It doesn't matter how you do it, okay? It must work for you. Once you've broken it down, I'm going to give you a tip. Leave it. In fact, just sort of fold your paper over, leave it for a little while, then go back to it. Get your mind away from it, and then break it down even further until they are small, tiny, bite-sized chunks. Little pieces. I promise you, that's what you need to get to. Small pieces. Don't think it's too ridiculously small. That's what it needs to be. Okay, so that is your homework for today. So if you know anyone who's climbed these mountains, if you break it down into small steps, you can do anything. I was speaking to someone last week, and they said that, that people that climb these high mountains, we were talking about the comrades, and he was saying that all he does is focus on the next 5 kilometers, 10 kilometers. He doesn't think of the end. If he had to think of the end, he would never make it. It's just that next 5. Once you get to the next 5, then he thinks of the next 5. So it's just that small step in front of you. Okay? And those are the most successful business and organizations, by the way. Yes, have your vision, but once you start, you think of that step in front of you. That step in front of you. So focus, the staircase of goals. Focus on the step in front of you and not on the whole staircase. Have you ever had that feeling that when you start focusing on the whole staircase, you start getting quite overwhelmed and panicky and anxious? And then you start thinking like, oh, well, I just can't do this. It's too big. And before you know it, you've kind of derailed yourself. But as long as you just stick to those steps in front of you, you're fine. You can do it. You can do it. Okay, focus on the step in front of you. And that's the end of our sharing today. So guys, break it down into the ridiculous. What do you think of that idea, of that concept? Have you heard it before? Is it thought-provoking?
Yes.
And do we do it? Do we do it?
No,
No.
not always.
Not always.
No.
It's so nice to hear your voice and see your smile, because you know, I think we do it, but we don't break it down into the ridiculous. We just go to a certain point. We don't really go that small. And then we stumped and we wonder why we're not making progress, why we're not moving forward, because that it's just too big for us. We need to get more information. We need something smaller. So I really challenge you to make it small. It could be making that phone call. It could be cleaning the cutlery drawer, you know, something really small. And once you get that, then you're ready for your next step. Okay. So anyone struggling with that concept or needing advice or suggestions on how to break theirs down into ridiculously small steps? Yes, Tarisha.
Yeah. Okay, so the first surprise that came my way is times 10, right? So before the times 10 came into it, I thought, okay, I took the salary one, right? And I thought, okay, this is ambitious now to get to this salary that I put down. And then you went times 10. I physically couldn't write it down. And then I started thinking, but why does Kim say times 10? Where does 10 come from? And then I say, okay, well, let's just times 3 for now. Okay, so I times 3, and it's still a really big number that scares me. And then to come back to your question, I think we don't end up breaking it down into all the small pieces because we pass the point where we think it's realistic. Because you know those SMART goals. So whenever I come across goals, we always talk about SMART goals, and it has to be realistic. Okay. That is a hindrance to me with the 10 times.
Yes. So the SMART goals, so Tarisha, that's a very good point. So the realistic part of the SMART goals is those small steps. Those small steps I must be able to pick up the phone. Okay. Now, and I'm going to go quickly because I hope there's other questions, but this is very important. So what I want you to do, and good on you for timesing it by 3. But I want you to go back today and times it by 10. Because your brain is saying to you, it's not possible. But the problem is, it's not possible with the brain we've had. Because we think to get that salary, this is how we do it. So we'll always just get that salary. Maybe there's another way to do it. But when we just think of the normal way of increasing our salary, we're just going to get the normal salary. So
then you also then conflict within yourself, because then you think, okay, if I have that much money, what am I going to do with it, first of all? And isn't that just greedy? You know,
okay.
I think you're selling yourself short.
Go for it.
I get
Why do
accused
I-
of it
why
all the
do
time.
No, I think you stopping yourself from achieving it just by what you've said. You're already
Yes.
putting it into a negative.
Yes.
Yeah.
So this is very interesting, and thanks for that, Gia. So guys, you see, it starts getting a little bit. Human beings are quite complex. Terusha, what happens here is it's not just the goal. There's a lot of personal stuff going on there. You know, our stories of money and our stories of self-worth and what's enough and what's greed and what's not greedy. Well, you know what, I can tell you now, if I earn 10 million Rand a month, I mean, I would be supporting so many causes and helping the world, because money then is no longer money.
Yeah.
It's no longer
True.
money. It's how to support. It's how to help, how to improve this country. I can then do something because I've got some kind of empowerment. I've got something that I can work with. It's no longer money to pay my electricity bill. Am I making sense?
By Eskom.
I've got something that I can do something with, you know? I can go and at grassroots levels, I can go in and help entrepreneurs start planting things, start growing. But I can't do that when I'm struggling to pay my electricity bill, for example. Okay. So
And you mustn't feel guilty if you earn that big amount of money. You don't have to tell everybody what you earn, you know? So you just have to sort it out for yourself, by yourself, and your mindset.
And think about what you could do positively with all that money, what you could do positively for the world, for your community, for yourself with that money. Okay, we've been taught, Terusha, I don't know, many of us from kids, we've been raised, we've been indoctrinated by people around us, by our teachers, by whoever, that a lot of money is greedy, wanting money is greedy. Okay, we've been taught that, we've been indoctrinated, and it really isn't. Look at all the really wealthy people in this world, and all the good that they do. All the good that they're able to do. Okay. So that's something to think about. Wonderful. I love that. Any other questions, inputs, statements, epiphanies? No. Okay. Lynn, are you smiling?
I'm always smiling. I'm just exhausted today. That's all.
Okay.
I think, yeah, I'm just a little overwhelmed with exhaustion because I've been so busy.
Yes.
But I'm actually just plodding along. I'm the tortoise right now. And yeah.
Sometimes it's very
race.
good. It's very good to be a tortoise. I'm discovering that more and more. I've been a hare a lot of my life. I'm a very active person, but just to plod along steadily, do your thing. You know, the tortoise eventually runs out of steam, but the tortoise keeps on going. Tortoise keeps on going. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good. Amanda, and I have to ask you, how's this module second time round? It's always good to for the newbies to hear.
Well, Terusha, that's exactly how I felt. You know, I'm like, put this high goal out there, and then Kim says 10 times more. It's like, what are you talking about? You know, so yeah. But that breaking it down. Sorry, I missed the first part of the meeting. I was late now, but breaking it down really makes it more possible. It makes you. It opens up your mind for different options and possibilities. But I think it's also something you have to practice. Because I did this course when in
February,
I think, and then you just go on, you know, in a different way. So I think you really have to work on that, keeping doing it. And I think what came out last with the last course is it's not only here with these goals that it happens. If you learn to break it down and you practice that, it comes through in the rest of your life as well. Not being so overwhelmed, just thinking, okay, I can't do this, it's overwhelming, but if I can just do little pieces, and it helps. It does
Yes,
help.
yes. I remember, yes, a quick example, Annika Buerter, who was on the course, and she might be watching this webinar. She used it in her personal life as we can. And do you remember this, Amanda? She wanted to build a sand pit for her children to play in. And she thought, like, where do you start? And she actually shared it on the group, and she said, at the smallest possible part. And there she ended up building the sand pit. Do you remember that, Amanda? And she used that, you know, break it down into the ridiculous. And just on a last note as well, also, Terusha, one of the things about 10 timesing it is, just everyone think about this. Let's say I want to make R1 million this year. I want to earn R1 million. If I think, okay, so I want to make R1 million this year, how do I do it? Okay, and then I write down some ideas. And then I say to myself, okay, I 10 times that. I want to make 10 million rand this year. How do I do that? The how of making 10 million rand is quite different to making 10 million rand. And that's what I want to try and get us to, because it's to get the thinking of that how is where we need to get to. Otherwise, we're playing in the smaller hows and we keep on getting the smaller results. So when we have big, lofty goals, it gets our mind into thinking about creative hows that we haven't thought of before, that maybe even don't exist, and maybe you're the first person that's going to think of it. Okay. Yes. Simon Seneca does a talk on the why and the how. The why, yes. Okay, everyone.
May I ask a question? Is it too late to ask one question?
No, we've got time. Please go ahead.
Okay. What, like, if you have, I mean, I know exactly what I want and I'm very clear on it. And it's easy to 10 times it because it just means doing it in multiple areas. The only thing that I'm finding is that the people around me are not supportive in what I'm wanting to do. So how do you overcome that?
Okay, so Lynn, my first question, there are two things I want to give you. And so this will be, you can write it down if you want a little bit of coaching. The first thing that I noticed is you 10 times it and you said, well, that's easy to do. I just 10 times multiple areas. So the warning or the alarm bell for me was that's easy to do. So I think you've got to 10 times your actual goal in a more difficult way. There must be something more, okay, because that tells me you know how to do that. So can you 10 times that particular goal in another way that actually scares you? Okay. And then how do you overcome, and then your question to yourself would be, how do I overcome the difficulty of people not wanting to support me? Is there a way to do that? Or do I need to work with different kinds of people?
Okay. But if it's immediately around you, you can't really change that.
Okay, so how do they need to support you, or is it just a way of how do I manage them? They don't necessarily have to support you. You just need to kind of live with it. How do I live with it in a way that doesn't
move away from them? In your mind, don't depend on them.
I don't depend on them.
But why do they worry you?
Because
because I think in some way it does worry a person. Although you will fight against it and say, no, they don't, but they actually handicap you.
I think it's because they're quite demanding, because when you are very capable, people get you to do too many things.
So don't
start with the beginning.
It's hard to get to not do the things that everyone wants you to do.
So I'm going to leave you with a possible solution, and for us and for everyone. And thanks for that, Ansi. Thanks for the coaching. That was fantastic. And wonderful. Lynn, when we get support and advice and it makes us feel uneasy, then we know we're on the right track. Lynn, we're on the right track here. Okay, when it makes us feel uneasy. It's all about, Lynn, I think it's about healthy boundaries. It's about
Okay,
you
it's mostly
setting
is,
healthy
yeah.
boundaries.
Yeah. Okay, I've got that. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's nice to point fingers at them because that's what we do. Guys, we're all human, but it's actually about us and they demanding from us because we haven't set the healthy boundaries. We haven't set the healthy boundaries because we don't know how to communicate the healthy boundaries. And guess what? We don't have to, it doesn't have to cause conflict to set healthy boundaries. And we can also just start distancing ourselves from those kinds of people, mentally or physically. If not physically, if that's not possible, mentally and emotionally. I hope that helps. I hope that helps.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kim.
Pleasure. Thanks,
Okay.
everyone. That was fantastic.
Thank
And I'll see you for the
Bye,
last day
everybody.
tomorrow.
Okay.
Enjoy your homework.